In the previous session, we were talking about the dynamic fog. Turn our attention here to the lighting panel. We were able to utilize the dynamic fog to give us a scene which is a little bit more realistic in terms of kind of a natural scene. And you noticed here that I was able to go in and actually adjust the colors of the fog density. Now, this coloring is also available to us in the ambient tab. Here we go. There we go. There's the ambient tab coloring. Now, you'll notice here that in my ambient light, just my ambient light, you see this blue, this bluish down here, all right? And you also see this brownish up here. That is because I have a color range of blue to brown in my ambient light, all right? So I can actually influence the color of the scene with the controls that I use here, the ambient light controls and the color that I set. Let's try it. So this is all brown up here. So let's change that just so you could see it. Now I'm going to do something crazy and set it to red. All right. So I still have my blue down here because this is my other range of my ambient light is then blue. So my red here, again, now think of this as this red might be over here on this side of the slider. So as I increase the slider, I'm actually increasing the ambient level, which I have colored red. I'm going to prove it to you, but I'm going to color it, what's a good color? Green? You want to do green? Let's do green. All right. So here, so my ambient light at this range of the scale is green. It's green ambient light. All right, I'm going to, the other side of the scale, I'm going to prove it to you by picking red. Oh, look at that. So now if I kind of go down here, right about in the middle, I get a nice balance between the red, all right, and the green. Now, normally I don't want that kind of craziness, but I might. But I'm going to go back to, say, white. And I'm going to go back, well, I'm just going to say white here just to give us a place to start. Now, that doesn't look very realistic, actually. Now, here's where you can do something very interesting with this ambient light. I kind of think of these objects here as kind of like steel. So I think maybe I kind of want to get more like a blue steel color to it. All right. So I'm going to go over in here and I'm going to find, I don't know, blue. Let's see, I want kind of more of a, I'll use my color picker here. I'll just kind of come right in here. I'm going to kind of go for almost a bluish steel look. So right there. Well, okay, that. Now, my ambient light, all right, kind of gives me a bluish steel look to it. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do something similar. Let's see. You know, I don't know, something like, come on. Something like, see what that looks like. A little, maybe a little darker. That's too much. That's too much. Let's go like really light. Okay, so that's interesting. So my ambient light here, I've used the color range in the ambient light to give me a look of kind of like steel objects. All right. Now I also have a color control for my depth. All right. So now let's just prove it. Let's take this, and we're going to make this a nice red. All right. So that we can see how this particular control impacts our scene. We have red right here. All right. So forcing something to red is kind of an interesting way of being able to really see how your scene is impacted. Ah, let's come over here. Let's do red here. Okay. All right. Now keep in mind now that this is the depth at which the ambient light will penetrate our shadows. Let's turn that. Let's put this back to neutral. I'm going to put that to white. Okay. All right. Yeah, my shadows down in here are kind of getting harsher. Okay. Now, there's a relationship between this ambient light and also your fog. So keep all that in mind. You see that? You see how I've changed my fog? Changing the fog will have an impact on your ambient light, naturally, because you have light that is being simulated, depleted by the fog, okay? And so naturally, it's going to have an impact on your ambient. Your ambient is also going to have an impact or a relationship on your fog. All right. So here's the point. What you want to do is use your fog, your ambient, and your diffuse lighting to dial in a good color of the scene, a color that you want. All right. You're in control of the coloring. All right. So your specular, your diffuse lighting. Okay. You want to optimize detail. You don't want to lose detail in shadows, dark, or highlights, white. All right. And you want the ambient light to give you a good distribution of light across the object. You don't want to blow your details out, and you don't want to make everything really dark. Okay. You want a nice distribution of your light. You want your depth so that you can maximize and optimize your shadowing, and the shadows will give your fractal objects more more pronounced. Okay, and you want your dynamic fog to give you an interesting scene where you haven't depleted the light so much that there's no light that can get through this simulated fog, or too much light where there's no fog, there's no reduction of light due to the fog. So here again, you want a good balance here. All right, and I don't like this this ugly orange. I'm going to make that more of a yellowish orange by doing something like this. Okay, give me a little bit more realistic sunset. Not quite there yet. A little bit, I want a light orange, something like that. Well, I could do better. All right, so then the fog offset is how close the fog is, starts from the camera. And then the far offset is how far out the application will create the fog before it stops calculating the fog. And so something like that. Something like that. I am not happy with this. There we go. Let's try that. No, it's a little bit better. A little bit better. Okay. Okay. All right, I think this is a good stopping point. I think what we've done here in the last several sessions, going back a half a dozen sessions, we talked about this global light and its intensity and its coloring. We talked about your light source angles, XY. We talked about this relative to object and how important that is, especially in an animation. We talked about the diffuse color, the ambient lighting, how to control your ambient light to optimize the sense of depth, to create shadows, all right, to accentuate the contours and the objects of your fractal scene. We talked about the dynamic fog and how interesting that can make your scene. So I think next, I think what we'll do is we'll back up a little bit and we'll talk about these controls in here. I'll see you in the next session.